Hey guys, Zen here, and today I wanted to talk about Season 4 of Rainbow Six Siege and give you guys my 5 predictions for the upcoming season of the game. Now, of course, we're getting the 2 brand new Moroccan operators, we're also getting a new map, new weapons and gadgets. Those things are guaranteed to be coming, but Ubisoft always pairs this new content with a bunch of changes and a bunch of things that sometimes we didn't even see coming, and so this list will be 5 things that I'm hoping we see with the Moroccan season of Rainbow Six Siege. So to start this list off, we have the Castle rework. Now, this is an operator that Ubisoft themselves have said that they want to buff up, they want to change, and really rework into the meta because in his current state, he just isn't performing in the ways they want him to. Now, the community has been really split on Castle since the beginning, where a lot of players, usually those that are a little bit lower in ranks, feel like he needs a buff. And then there's another side of the community, typically the higher ranks, that believe that Castle is in a perfectly good spot, and in some cases and on some objectives, even a little overpowered. Now, myself, I believe that Castle simply has too many counters. As far as the armor panel gadget itself, I think fundamentally it does what it's supposed to do. Blocking off certain areas or certain ins and outs for the attackers is definitely one of his main fundamental uses. In general, it just has too many counters. I've listed them in the past, but from hard breachers to soft breachers, frag grenades, and even melees, there's just too many things that can take this thing down to make it really viable currently in the meta. Now, Castle was just recently buffed, where Glaz's OTS rifle can no longer take down the barricades, and Ubisoft have even taken that a step further, where no longer can Glaz's OTS penetrate through the barricades, which means sometimes people would use Glaz to open up a small hole in a barricade and then peek through and get a couple kills with Glaz, because of course you can see that thermal and it's really easy to peer through a hole that was made. But now, Glaz basically has no interaction with Castle, so that's a little bit more of a buff, but I don't think that that is currently enough. In my opinion, the only way to really buff this character and make him really viable in the current meta is to force a breach. You guys have to remember that Castle is a year 1 vanilla operator, and back in those days, they only had a handful of breachers, and they only had a handful of ways that they could actually open up these barricades, and so there had to be a way without breaching to actually get them open, and so I think back then it made a lot of sense that melees could open this thing up. But in a post-vanilla world where you have operators like Hibana and Zofia, and now with Maverick, on top of a bunch of operators having breach charges and frag grenades, there's just a multitude of ways to actually get this barricade down. And I think in the current meta, where these operators are some of the most picked and popular operators, I think again you should have to force a breach of some kind. But I'm really curious to know exactly how you guys would change or rework Castle. This is obviously something that the community is really passionate about, so let me know all of your thoughts down below. Moving on to my next prediction for Year 3 Season 4, and it is a map buff to Cafe or Skyscraper, or maybe even both. Now, for those of you that have been here for a while, you know that my least favorite map currently in the game is Cafe. I've always felt as though it's a defender favored map, and considering it's been here since the beginning, I just don't feel it's moved along with the times and with the introduction of new operators. One of the most popular objective sites on the map is the 3rd floor cigar lounge. If you're starting a match on Cafe, you can pretty much guarantee that's going to be the first objective site that you're going to have to attack or that you'll be defending of the match. Now, with operators like Frost and Legion and some of the changes that have happened with Kapkan, it can be really difficult to actually get on objective and get a plant down as an attacker. I also think Cafe has a pretty serious spawn peeking issue, and it's really only gotten worse over time. I look at it similar to the old Hereford base. That was a rework that Ubisoft wanted to focus in on and make sure that they got a grasp of with the new map, and so I'm thinking that with Cafe, if there's some sort of buff or something that might be coming for the map, I would hope that they would address some of the spawn peaks. Now, as far as Skyscraper is concerned, this is actually one of my favorite maps, but a lot of people from the community, at least from what I've seen, have been calling out for some sort of change or buff to this map, and I think the main reason for that is because the map is starting to get a little bit stale, a little bit stagnant. It's played the same way almost every single round, and I think people are looking for a little bit more diversity out of Skyscraper. Now, in any given match, you can almost guarantee that it's going to go a little something like this. You're going to start in Tea Room, 2nd floor, then you're going to move to the Office, 2nd floor, and then you're going to hope that you win your attacking rounds so that you don't have to deal with either of the 1st floor objectives, and that goes for Secure Area or Bomb. So if I were to buff this map, I would make the 1st floor objectives a little bit more viable so that the defenders don't always feel like they have to be upstairs to remain competitive. And this is where I think Ubisoft did a great job with the new Hereford base rework. Considering what it was and how the basement objective was pretty much the only viable one on the map, I would say the new Hereford base and all of the new objective sites are pretty viable and have a good general flow of gameplay. Now, with Operation Grim Sky, no one saw the consulate map buff coming, and even though it was small and they only tweaked and changed a little bit about the map, it was still nice that we got that refreshing change to the map that really does make it feel a little bit better in the meta. So for Year 3 Season 4, I'd like to see Ubisoft buff up both Cafe and Skyscraper, but of course I know some of you out there may think I'm crazy for that, so you can let me know which ones you'd like to see down below. My third prediction is something that you've heard a few times on this channel, but it is the introduction of the proximity alarm. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, a while back, before Operation Parabellum was even released, we had the leaked voice lines for a new Defender gadget called the proximity alarm. Now, for those of you that may not know what we're talking about, I'll play the voice lines for you here real quick just for a little bit more context.
Not the protocol. Proximity alarm!
How does anyone manage to shoot Ash? Her head is so small. Proximity alarm in place!
So yeah, the proximity alarm is definitely a gadget that's coming in the game and is in the game somewhere already, but we just haven't seen it yet. We obviously didn't see it with Operation Parabellum, and it was not introduced with Operation Grim Sky, so I think it's possible that it may be coming next season. One interesting thing that I did want to note is that the intel that we're given in the game is typically through cameras. So you have Valkyrie cams, you have Maestro cams, you have regular around the map cameras, and so I'm thinking that this proximity alarm is going to be another way to give us intel that isn't necessarily via a camera. I know some of you are going to say Legion, some of you might even say Ella, but those are specific Defender gadgets. This would obviously be a secondary gadget considering we have voice lines of Maestro and Alibi saying they're deploying it and they already have their main gadgets. So that's my main thinking when it comes to the proximity alarm. We know it's in the game somewhere, we know it's coming, and so I'm hoping that we get to see it with the Moroccan season of Rainbow Six. My next prediction is the introduction of the Blitz Elite. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, we actually got a leak for this set a little while back where we saw the MVP animation. We also got the name for it, and it's called Panzer Stark. So we do know, again, this is something that is in the game. Now, I think we can all agree that since he's been buffed, Blitz has been being played a ton, and I'm sure that Ubisoft has the data to prove that his pick rate has gone way up since they changed him so much. I mean, let's not forget, just a couple of months back, Blitz was a 3 armor, really slow operator that wasn't able to do some of the things that he can now. But since that's changed and he's a 2-speed operator with the ability to sprint with his shield up, he can be an absolute nightmare to any defender dealing with him. Now, as far as the Panzer Stark Elite goes, Ubisoft always releases a new Elite skin alongside new content for the season, like we saw with the Frost Elite in Operation Grim Sky, so it's possible that the Blitz Elite is introduced with Year 3 Season 4. Moving on to my 5th and final prediction, and it is that the casual playlist will finally get some much needed change. I have exactly 3 ways that I wanted to detail for you guys that I think would make casual a better place to play overall. First, more incentives. Secondly, it needs to follow the ranked formula a little closer. And third, I think it would be a great place to introduce new game modes. So, as far as more incentives, there needs to be more reason for us to actually play in the casual playlist. When it comes to ranked, you have your rank, and that will always be the incentive in that playlist. But after your weekly challenges, there's really no reason to hop in and play casual. And then if you combine that with the overall experience of the playlist, it makes it even more difficult to go in and have an actually good time when playing. Now, usually when you start up some casual, you're going to join a match in progress, and that can be really difficult getting situated, getting comfortable, and having a good time in that game. Now, throughout that game, you'll be hard pressed to find the entire team of both sides stays for the entire match. Most times, someone is going to quit, and then you're left with a 4v5, sometimes a 3v5, sometimes it's 3v3. You can get some really weird things going on there, and that's because there is absolutely no penalty for leaving early in the casual playlist. If you leave ranked, you know that not only are you going to take that loss, you're also going to get a 15-minute ban where you cannot play ranked. And for a lot of people, that'll stop them from just leaving the game and leaving everybody else to have a lesser experience when they get frustrated or they die in some way that they don't necessarily agree with. Of course, it is supposed to be casual, so you're kind of supposed to look at it like you're kicking your feet up and just playing the game, but you can't really enjoy the game when these kinds of things are happening. Now, as far as introducing new game modes into casual, I think if Ubisoft has some sort of event or some sort of side playlist that they want to begin to introduce to the game, they should obviously begin that with casual. You see this when a new map comes out. Sometimes they have a multiplayer casual where you'll only play on that map. Everybody can get the chance to get used to it. It lasts for a little while, and I think that that system works. I would like to see that same kind of thing applied to new game modes. So I think everybody kind of has their own idea of a new game mode that could be introduced into Siege, and if they were to do that, I would like to see that introduced into casual first and then migrate its way over to ranked if it fits. So with the next season, I'm thinking Ubisoft will finally update the casual playlist and make it a little bit more of a fun environment for everyone. But that's everything, guys. Those are my 5 predictions for year 3 season 4 of Rainbow Six Siege. But I want to hear from you. What are some of the things that you want to see with the next season of the game? And what do you think about some of my predictions? Leave everything in a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, please drop a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. With that being said, it's been Zen. Hey, I'm out.